The Dallas Cowboys might have taken some encouraging steps toward fixing their run offense, but when it comes to the run defense, things are far from reassuring. And look, it's not just about stats. It's about the eye test, the consistency, and most importantly, how this weakness shows up when it matters most. While fans are talking themselves into believing the team has turned a corner, the reality is the Cowboys haven't done nearly enough to prove that they've addressed one of their most persistent and painful flaws: stopping the run. Let's go back to last season. On paper, the Cowboys didn't even face a high volume of rushing plays compared to the rest of the league. They were somewhere just below the league average in terms of rush attempts faced. But the production they allowed on those plays, that's the real concern. They ranked dead last in rushing touchdowns allowed, bottom 3 in yards per carry, bottom 4 in rushing yards allowed per game, bottom 10 in explosive run plays. Given up, bottom 2 in stuff rate, meaning they were near the worst in stopping runs for no gain or tackles for loss. And the cherry on top, dead last in EPA per rush. Every metric you can pull from NFL's next-gen stats paints the same picture. This run defense was soft. And remember, this happened despite stacking the box at one of the 10 highest rates in the NFL. So it's not like the Cowboys were sitting back and letting it happen. They were actively trying to stop the run and still got bullied. Now people will point out that some of these numbers could be inflated by game script, and that's a fair argument to a point. If you're down by 2 touchdowns, teams are obviously going to run more to chew clock. But even when you account for that, the issue remains. This defense crumbles when challenged on the ground. Let's look at the games they lost with a healthy Dak Prescott at quarterback. So we're talking about meaningful losses where the offense had no excuse and the defense had to step up. In those losses, the Cowboys gave up nearly 170 rushing yards per game. Opponents averaged nearly 4.9 yards per carry. And in only 5 of those games did they manage to hold teams under 4 yards per carry. That's abysmal. Even against just above average teams, fringe playoff squads, the Cowboys still struggled. The numbers show it. Around 29 carries. Per game allowed, 4.6 yards per carry. Median yards per carry? Still over 4. Are the same pattern repeated over and over again. What does that tell us? That when Dallas faces real competition, not bottom feeders, not tanking teams, but competent playoff caliber teams, this defense turns into a bottom 10 unit against the run. And when you get into the playoffs, that's the kind of team you're playing every week. That's the level you have to match. And if you're walking in with a run defense that ranks 22nd, 24th, or worse in most categories, that's going to bite you. It's not a matter of if, it's when. And here's the real kicker. Even when teams ran inside against Dallas, an area where defensive tackles are supposed to set the tone, the Cowboys were still among the worst. They faced the fewest inside run attempts in the league. That should help your averages, right? It didn't. They still ranked 19th in total yards allowed on inside runs and dead last in yards per carry on those runs. Dead last. And again, this is with the fewest attempts faced. That's not just bad. That's a red flag waving in bright neon lights. It means teams weren't even trying to test them up the gut because they didn't have to. They could just bounce it outside and find success there too. Outside runs weren't much better. In fact, they were worse in some categories. Teams ran outside on Dallas more than any other team. Why? Because the Cowboys couldn't set the edge. They were tied for 31st in rushing touchdowns allowed on outside runs, 30th in yards per game allowed, and 23rd in yards per carry. That's a defensive front that can't plug the middle and can't contain the edges. You can try to mask it, you can try to scheme around it, but eventually you're going to get exposed. And last year they did, over and over again. So fast forward to this offseason. What did the Cowboys do to fix it? That's where things get even murkier. Sure, they've made some changes. New head coach, new defensive coordinator. Mike Zimmer's in. Maybe that shifts the philosophy, but Zimmer is a veteran coach. He knows defense, but the scheme alone won't solve this. It's about personnel. And on that front, the moves don't scream improvement. Let's look at what they lost. DeMarcus Lawrence, their most consistent run-stopping edge for years, was banged up but still played at a high level. In 2023, he's gone. Jordan Lewis, who some analytics sites say wasn't great against the run, actually brought real toughness and awareness in run support. Also gone. These weren't just role players. They were two of Dallas's most effective run defenders over the past few seasons. That's a significant void to fill. Now, who's coming in to replace them? Jack Sanborn. Promising? Sure. But he's still a part-time guy who hasn't proven he can handle a full-time role at that level. Kenneth Murray? That one raises eyebrows. Incredible athlete, but the instincts just haven't been there. He's been getting lost on the field since his rookie year. Solomon Thomas? Look, let's be honest. He's never been known for being a reliable run defender. You can check the tape going back to San Francisco. He's disruptive at times, but not stout. Dante Fowler is still around, but again, he's a pass rusher, not a tone setter in the run game. Then we get to the defensive tackle rotation. And that's where the real concern kicks in. Osa Odigizua is back, and there's hope that he thrives. And Mike Zimmer's system. Maybe that happens, but outside of Osa, the names get really shaky. Maisie Smith, who was supposed to be a big-time run stuffer, coming out of Michigan, reportedly lost weight this offseason. That's not inherently a bad thing, but it raises serious questions. He was drafted to be a power player. Now the team is saying, hey, we want you lighter so you can play more snaps. That's fine in theory, but we've seen this movie before. Lighter Maisie didn't work last year. What makes anyone think it'll work this time? Then there's Jay Tufele, Akamebe Sote, Denzel Daxon, and a handful of other guys who are either unproven, undersized, or just plain not built to be nose tackles in the NFL. Solomon Thomas, again, is listed at 256 pounds. That's a pass rusher. That's not a gap plugger. The Cowboys are essentially saying, we don't want big bodies anymore. That's a dangerous philosophy. Yes, you want quickness and agility, but at some point, someone has to hold the line when an opposing offensive line is driving forward. It's also telling that several of the guys that used to rotate last season, guys like Carl Davis Jr., Justin Rogers, and Fehoko, are now out of the league. That's not just turnover. That's a signal that Dallas was relying on players who probably shouldn't have been on the field in the first place. And unless someone like Perry and Winfrey, who's shown flashes, steps up in a big way, the run defense is going to be leaning on a group that simply hasn't proven they can stop anyone consistently. Even in the preseason, when Dallas faced the Rams' backups, the cracks were showing. Mozzie had a couple nice plays. Winfrey was disruptive. But by the fourth quarter, the unit got run over. They couldn't finish. And look, it's preseason, but these are the guys you're expecting to rotate in during real games. If they can't close against second and third stringers, how are they going to stand up in December against a full-strength San Francisco or Philadelphia offensive line? At linebacker, it's the same story. Injuries have already reshuffled the depth chart. DeMarvion Overshown's development is going to be key, but the team is now relying on Kenneth Murray and Jack Sanborn to carry the load. That's a risky bet. Damone Clark still looks like he's trying to find consistency, and Jabril Cox hasn't quite made the jump either. The Rams game once again showed issues. Missed reads, poor pursuit angles, overcommitting on play fakes. That's not going to cut it, even on the edge. Without DeMarcus Lawrence, the Cowboys are now counting on guys like Sam Williams, Martian Nealand, and Dante Fowler to fill that void. Micah Parsons is a game wrecker, no question, but you don't want him to have to be Superman on every play. He's best when freed up to hunt the quarterback. If the run defense collapses and Micah has to play cleanup duty every down, that limits his impact where you need him most. And the truth is, this isn't just about individual players or one position group. This is systemic. It's a layered problem. The defensive line doesn't hold. The linebackers are late or over-aggressive. The edges get sealed. The safeties and corners have to come downhill to tackle 8 yards past the line of scrimmage. That's how you give up nearly 5 yards a carry. That's how you lose control of games, especially against physical teams. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Whispers are intensifying around the Dallas Cowboys organization as Micah Parsons, one of the team's brightest stars, reportedly voices dissatisfaction behind closed doors, signaling possible turmoil in the locker room. The much-celebrated linebacker, known for his fierce on-field performances and leadership qualities, is said to be pushing aggressively for a contract extension, and sources close to the situation hint at a growing divide between Parsons and the franchise's management. This tension seems to stem from what insiders describe as a betrayal of trust, with Parsons feeling undervalued despite his pivotal role in the team's defensive strategies. The murmurs of discord could be the catalyst for a larger internal crisis, with some speculating that the Cowboys may be risking losing a key player if negotiations don't proceed swiftly. Fans and analysts alike are watching nervously, as Parsons' public stance may encourage others within the team to express their own frustrations, potentially unraveling the unity that the Cowboys have been painstakingly building. This developing story is fueling rumors that the locker room atmosphere might be far from the polished image often portrayed in media, revealing a raw, intense environment behind the scenes where loyalty and professional ambitions are colliding. In a high-stakes drama, the pressure mounting around Micah Parsons' contract talks is sparking speculation that this could be more than just a negotiation hiccup. It might represent a profound shift in the Cowboys' internal dynamics. Insiders suggest that Parsons feels sidelined amid the organization's priorities, which may be focused more on other marquee players or broader franchise strategies, leading to what some are calling a betrayal of his dedication and contributions. The linebacker's vocal demand for a renewal is reportedly stirring unease among team executives who might be hesitant to meet his terms, fearing it could set a precedent for other players. Meanwhile, the locker room is said to be split, with some teammates empathizing with Parsons' stance, while others worry that this public pressure could undermine team cohesion and distract from the upcoming season's preparations. Industry experts are already debating the potential fallout, with some envisioning a scenario where Parsons' frustration becomes contagious, prompting a chain reaction of demands that could destabilize the Cowboys roster. The rumor mill is also buzzing with talk that if the organization doesn't act swiftly and decisively, the linebacker's relationship with the franchise could deteriorate beyond repair, risking the loss of a key defensive weapon who has become integral to the team's identity. Adding fuel to the fire, reports from anonymous sources indicate that Micah Parsons' dissatisfaction goes beyond just financial terms. It touches on feelings of respect and recognition within the Cowboys organization. The linebacker is reportedly frustrated by what he perceives as a lack of appreciation for his relentless work ethic and impact on the field, which some insiders describe as a betrayal of the mutual respect expected between player and franchise. This perceived slight has allegedly prompted Parsons to take a more public stance in demanding his contract renewal, signaling a willingness to challenge the status quo rather than quietly accept the organization's current offer. Observers close to the situation speculate that this could signal a significant shift in player empowerment within the Cowboys, where star athletes like Parsons might increasingly leverage their influence to secure not only better contracts, but also a greater voice in team decisions. This evolving power dynamic might unsettle the team's leadership, who now face the challenge of balancing the demands of their top talent with maintaining control over their organization's long-term vision. Rumors suggest that how this standoff resolves could set a precedent for the Cowboys and possibly ripple across the NFL landscape in terms of player-team negotiations. The Cowboys front office reportedly finds itself in a precarious position as Micah Parsons' contract saga unfolds, caught between managing the financial implications of a lucrative extension and preserving the locker room harmony that could be at risk. Sources suggest that while the team acknowledges Parsons' value on the field, there is caution about meeting all his demands too quickly, fearing it could disrupt salary cap management and future team-building efforts. The tension is described by insiders as a betrayal, not only in terms of trust, but also in the clash between the players' personal ambitions and the organization's broader strategic goals. This conflict may be exacerbated by the public nature of Parsons' contract requests, which some within the franchise feel puts undue pressure on management and might undermine internal negotiation processes. Meanwhile, whispers from within the team hint that some veterans are concerned about the message this dispute sends to younger players, potentially encouraging a culture where individual demands overshadow collective goals. The unfolding drama has created an atmosphere of uncertainty, with speculation rife that the Cowboys might soon face a critical crossroads in defining the future of their defense and the overall makeup of their roster. Speculation continues to swirl that Micah Parsons' vocal demand for a contract extension is not just a personal matter, but a potential turning point that could redefine the Cowboys' culture and strategy going forward. Industry insiders suggest that Parsons' bold stance exposes underlying cracks in the organization's handling of player relations, highlighting what some describe as a betrayal of loyalty that could resonate beyond just one player. The linebacker's frustration reportedly reflects a broader sentiment among key players who feel their contributions might not be fully acknowledged or rewarded, sparking rumors of a wider unrest brewing beneath the surface. Analysts are debating whether this crisis might lead to a major shakeup in the Cowboys' leadership approach, or even in personnel, as the franchise tries to realign priorities to retain its star talent. This situation, if unresolved, could mark a significant shift in the team's trajectory, potentially impacting its competitive edge and reputation. As the Cowboys and Micah Parsons enter this critical phase, the sports world remains on edge, watching closely to see if this rumored internal conflict will culminate in a resolution or escalate into a full-blown crisis that could redefine the future of one of the NFL's most storied franchises. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.